All right, welcome back. So I want to introduce us today to air masses and how they affect our weather here in North America. So first and foremost, air masses are um, large parcels of air that are taking on characteristics of their source region or where they come from. So source regions are large areas with relatively stagnant conditions. So that's going to be things that stay the same for long periods of time. So we're looking at temperature and moisture content in the air. So the air is going to pick up on whatever the land is giving it. So if you have an area where there's a lot of water, that water can evaporate up into the air and cause the air to be wet or humid. If you have an area where the land is very cold, it can, influence the air to also be cold. If you have an area where the land is very warm, the air will also follow that and be warm. So we have two-letter codes for our air masses. The first one is indicative of its moisture content, and that's a lowercase letter. The second letter of this two-letter code is an uppercase or capital letter, and that's going to describe the temperature of the area. So my options, I'm going to circle some on my map here. And these extend off of the map as well. And of course, there are more outside of this map that exist, but I'm just going to focus in on North America here because that's where we live and that's what we know most are familiar with. So here, I'm going to start here in the desert Southwest. We know that the air, or maybe you've experienced this air, or you've heard about this air being dry. This air is very hot, it's very dry, just like the land beneath it is. So for this air mass, I'm going to give it a two-letter code that describes it being continental. So over a continent, continental air is very dry. It's also very hot here, so I would call this T for tropical. So So our top two over here, continental and maritime, those are options for moisture characteristics. And then our bottom three, tropical, polar, and Arctic, those are our descriptors for temperature features of an air mass. So CT, I'm pairing continental with tropical, telling me that it's dry and hot. Over here, off the South Pacific area, I know that that's over a large body of water, so I can call that maritime. And I know it's hot down here, so I'm going to call it also tropical, MT. Over here, I have a similar situation. We probably have a lot of experience with going to Florida on vacations. Maybe, hopefully for you. M, maritime, T, tropical. If we move up here to New England, maybe you've been to New England and you're familiar with the waters up here being kind of cold. Or cooler compared to what's in Florida. Remember, it's kind of relative. So up here, this would be more polar because it's cold, but it's still over the water. So I'm going to give it an M, a maritime designation. If I travel to the North Pacific, the same is true. It's wet and it's cold. Here in the middle of the continent, I just told you the answer. C, continental, it's dry. There's not a huge body of water there for that air to suck up like a sponge. It's also relatively cold in the middle of the continent here up by Canada. So continental polar would be what I would use there. Now, I've circled this part up here. This is also continental. Arctic, because it's even colder up there for most of the year. There are places up there where we have permafrost or tundra where it just stays frozen in the ground all year long. So that gets a separate designation as Arctic. Your book may mention equatorial air masses or maybe Antarctic air masses. That's fine. I'm going to hold you to these 5 air masses and hope that you could describe them to me, because these are the ones that affect our weather systems here in North America. So here in Battle Creek, sometimes in the wintertime, we have air that is very cold and it's very dry. And as a result, it makes your hands and your skin very dry. You have to put lotion on. Sometimes it can make your nose very dry and you have nosebleeds. That's air from this continental polar air mass moving over to Battle Creek. It's bringing with it those same moisture content and temperature characteristics. In our summertime here in Battle Creek, we receive a lot of influence from our maritime tropic air mass. Air is humid. There's a lot of moisture in it. It feels heavy at times. And it's very hot. So as these air masses move and shift around, it will carry those qualities with it of the air mass to its new destination. And that's going to impact a lot of our weather and weather systems here in the US. So I'll stop there and pick up in another video.